Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we present to you tonight the Triple B podcast. That's right, we are the Buds Bustin' Balls. I am the asshole who's doing this obnoxious voice and introducing everybody tonight. I am Scott Stevens, also known as Hero Mega Man X. To my left or right, I don't know what it looks like to you. We have Matt, aka Celiac Matt, the man who is so uninteresting that he literally based his entire online persona based off the fact that he can't eat bread. To another side, I don't know which, we have Bauer Tendo Mike, a man that I am fairly convinced has a foot fetish. And tonight, we are going to talk about animated movies from our childhood, but not Disney movies. No. Believe it or not, there's other people who made pretty good movies that weren't Disney back when we were young. So, but before we get into that section, gotta ask the buds, what are you drinking? What are you playing? And not in that specific order necessarily.
I'm going to do it in that order. I'm drinking water. Just water.
Water stash.
Water stash. There's water in that stash right now. If you get a close up, you might see a little droplet falling down into my mouth. I have to use a straw now when I drink certain things. Water is fine, but I was having some eggnog the other day. That was a mistake to drink that in my mustache's current state. It got everywhere. It did. Anywho, what I've been playing, I try to mix up a lot of games because I like playing a lot of different games, but it's pretty much the same. Any mat time gaming has been Persona Strikers, which I've been enjoying, and my most played game is still Marvel Snap. I do be snapping, snappy boys. So those are my two big ones: Persona Strikers and the Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I guess we gotta like determine or differentiate between what are we streaming and then what is like our personal, like what are we actually playing, right?
I try to keep what I list on the podcast, like what I am playing outside of stream, just because it is usually different. Because stream is pretty consistent. My variety really is outside of stream.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start with my games played before I go to my drink, just to throw things off. I am playing, so much like how I influenced Scott with Vampire Survivors when he came down here and finally got him to take the plunge after Matt and I had been talking about it. I have taken the plunge because it was on sale, Dredge, and I got it on Steam, and let me tell you, I've been using that thing back there like crazy. It's great. I didn't have to do anything. I just booted up Dredge, and I was like, this is delightful. I go over to my computer and I play it there. It's delightful. The game itself, I don't know if I'd call it delightful. It scares the hell out of me many times. It's very creepy. And it took me a couple times. Yeah, it's a good game. Play Dredge. It's really good. So I'm playing Dredge and I'm playing Forza Motorsport just because I like racing and it's a good in-betweener. And I am drinking a whiskey.
Whiskey.
Not mixed anything. It's straight whiskey out of a straight shoe.
Kind of
Wait, no, I gotta do like the pinky. Ready?
Yeah, if you're drinking out of a shoe, you got to be classy about it. And I'm starting to see where Scott's foot fetish comment about you is coming into play.
I wasn't gonna say anything except for they're on to me.
As for me, as Mike already mentioned, I've been playing lots of Vampire Survivor, just Platinum Spider-Man 2, which all I'm going to say is I slightly regret giving it my number 3 spot in the previous episode. It went from like a 6 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 to like now it's probably down to like 7 out of 10, but it's fine. I still enjoyed it. Still a good game. The new one I just started last night, though, is actually Cult of the Lamb, which I've actually really been digging. It's kind of a messed up game. Not kind of, it's a really messed up game. But
yes,
I'm really enjoying the soundtrack. That's like the one thing I did not expect that I would be really digging. And graphics are great. The aesthetic of it is great. And I'm having fun. So hopefully the really messed up stuff I do in that game doesn't like deter me at all. Because so far I'm really enjoying that. So that's what I'm doing. So with that said, how about we jump into the topic, gentlemen? Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, as we mentioned, us growing up, we had our favorite movies. Some of these movies animated, they didn't age very well. Some of them are still baller movies that we wholeheartedly think you should check out. So, what are these movies that the buds treasured all this time growing up? Let's go and find out. Who wants to kick this off? Perhaps Matthew?
I'll do it. All right. This one everyone's going to know. I need everyone to know this. It is The Prince of Egypt. That was a childhood movie of every single person that ever spent time in a church growing up, and even people that didn't. But the story of Prince of Egypt, Moses, or is it Noah? It's Moses. That was a joke, everybody.
Is it
That was
Jesus?
a joke.
Is
Is
this
it
a quiz?
There's an old youth group gag where if you didn't know the answer, just say Jesus or Bible
Or love.
or love, and one of those answers was probably accurate. Prince of Egypt was a movie I've not seen in many, many years, but the music still holds up. And the animation, and this is in the 90s. That was Scott's caveat when he put this together. If we didn't mention it earlier, this is about 80s or 90s era of film. So we did kind of exclude like the more modern stuff. So this was in the 90s when this came out, and the animation was just spectacular. And I think why so many people gravitated towards it was it's a story that everyone knows. People know the story of Moses. People know the story of let my people go. It's Old Testament. It's a tried and true Bible story that every single child knows. And even those that didn't grow up in the church probably know that story as well. So I think that was probably the biggest appeal to a lot of people is just that everyone already knew the main story and they just wanted to see a cool animated movie with it. So just really the biggest takeaways that most people think about is the music was great. The story people already know. And three, the animation style for back there was just so freaking good. It was just a really good movie. Like I don't really have a whole lot like to go in depth on this movie other than I'm sure everyone that heard me say Prince of Egypt was just like, yeah, I liked that movie. Even if you don't believe in God, you're probably like, yeah, that was a cool movie. I assume you guys feel the same about Prince of Egypt, yeah?
Yeah, the weird thing about Prince of Egypt is it's obviously based off a Bible story, but it was like I want to say it was almost made not necessary for the faithful, but for like the mainstream secular audience. And if you look at the cast, voice cast of this movie, it is stacked. And we're not talking about like no name Christian voice actor people you never heard of, like Steve Martin, Martin
Yeah.
Short. They did voices in there. Sandra Bullock, Patrick Stewart. My personal favorite, Val Kilmer is God, because who else would he be but God? And
Val Kilmer was God. I didn't realize that.
Val Kilmer.
That makes
was
it
God.
so much cooler.
Not was, is. But looking here, he actually voices Moses. So that's a little cheap. You can't do Moses and God. That's just, that's the two biggies. But even the music, I want to say Mariah Carey did one song, a couple songs in there, like freaking Mariah Carey, like All I Want for Christmas Lady. So they really went all out on this movie. This was, I think at the time, the most expensive animated movie ever made, which, that's saying a lot when you're up against the House of Mouse, that you're putting more money into your movie than they ever did in any of theirs.
I like that I actually went into this topic like I'm not going to go in as depth as I usually do because I full on assumed you guys could fill in the blanks of anything about the movie and Scott just was like I got this. I'm so glad you dropped all that knowledge so I didn't have to like research it at all. Another thing I really like about the story is I was a youth pastor for a couple of years and I always took the story of the burning bush. One of the sermons I gave was just this isn't a religious lesson. This is just sort of a life lesson. Is people that are the most passionate about things vocally typically are the ones that I think are best suited to do the most good. For example, Moses was just like, "Hey God, why are you letting all these people suffering? Why aren't you fixing it?" And then God's like, "I think you should do it." That's me very, very, very much paraphrasing, but that's a lesson that I really took to heart from that movie. Is basically whatever you feel the most passionate about. If you're a believer, maybe that's God saying you're the one to do it, or if it's something you're very passionate about, like why is this bad? Maybe you could do something about it. That's just a lesson that I took from that I enjoyed. I'll digress from the mini sermon. Mike, you have any thoughts on Prince of Egypt?
Yeah, so like Matt, I was also a youth pastor for a while. And I admittedly never used this film because I didn't grow up in the church at all, and so like this came way later when I was way older, and then I watched it and I was like, that was extremely hokey, but I still kind of liked it, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out why, and it kind of goes along with what you were saying there. Like being, do something, right? And if you're equipped for it, and knowing what you're equipped for and what your limitations are, I don't know, something about that just hit with me. So I will say about the animation, I don't remember which one of you said this, but the animation still holds up, right? So have you ever gone back and watched one of these older cartoons that was not Disney? So like I'm thinking of one specifically, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Go back and you see the anime, like as a kid you're like, this is the best animation, and then you watch it and you're like, this is awful. Disney shows never were like that. Disney cartoon animated shows always the best animation. So to see something like Prince of Egypt at this quality, you think it was a Disney movie, and that was a compliment at the time, right? Of like, man, I thought this was Disney. It looked so good. So, and the designs, I really like the not pointy, but very
Angular. They're
angular. That's the word I'm
strong,
looking for. Thank you. Very
strong lines.
angular design. I really like that. So, I don't really like
All right.
round design. So, good stuff.
Yeah.
$1 million question, Matt. Does it hold up?
Yes.
Holds up.
It holds up.
Endorsement.
At least the
Watch
animation does, at the very, very least.
And the music.
Hey, man. The music is baller. Like the Seven Plagues or whatever that song's called. They're singing about all the ways that
The
Egyptians
seven
are
is
dying.
I love how you're like, the music is
What is it?
baller. The Seven Plagues.
It's a baller song. That is the best song about plagues of locusts and raining fire and death of firstborns that you're ever gonna hear.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
All right. Well, with that lovely topic over, how about we move on to Mike's first choice?
Yeah, so mine's kind of a weird one, and I'll explain why. So my pick is a little animated film called All Dogs Go to Heaven. Now I don't think Disney ever bought this one, so this will come into play later with one of my movies. All Dogs Go to Heaven. I went and saw this with my mom. Okay, and I'm a kid. Like when you're a kid, you don't really think too much about death. You just don't, because why would you, right? Like you're just like a kid. You're at the beginning of your life, and I remember going and seeing this movie, and by the end, I had strong feelings. Like I don't remember crying, but I was very like sad, and I remember my mom crying when we left the theater and thinking, okay, it's not just me. It's not just me being weird. This is a story about, okay, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Spoilers.
It's right there in the name.
A dog dies. Actually, multiple times, technically, I guess. But there are things. So I rewatched it recently, and I don't know what drew me to this movie. The animation's not bad, but it is very unique. I will say that it's very unique. I remember to this day, like people, like dogs talking and like them biting their lips. And it's so funny. I just said I like angular stuff. This movie is like the complete opposite. A lot of rounds, a lot of that kind of stuff. The music was okay. It wasn't like something like Prince of Egypt. But there was something about the message in maybe that's why I love dogs. Is that because of that movie? Because I really love cats, but dogs will always win the day. And I really legitimately think it's because of that movie, because you should go watch it and you'll see why and how the ending is. You could probably guess the ending. But yeah, I don't know. I actually saw this in theaters. Now I'm thinking about it. These first two I saw in theaters. The last one I did not see in theaters. Have you guys ever seen this movie?
On TV as a kid. And I did not like it, but continue.
And why didn't you like it?
I just didn't vibe with it as a kid. Maybe it was the whole dog hell and
Yes.
not dog hell, but like
I'm glad that
Like,
you brought that up because if you didn't, I was going to talk about how very adult themed this movie is, and I'm like surprised that I watched it.
and like as a kid, I understand most people see movies to feel good, and I usually tend to stay away from the ones that are like super sad and stuff like that, just because like I don't want to leave a movie feeling hollow. I'm kind of going to escape purposely, and that's taste. I get that, but that's kind of the vibe I got as a kid. As a kid watching this, I'm like, I feel sad. I don't like this, and that's just what has continued with me. Is that like I can appreciate what they did retrospectively, but as a kid, that sadness I was not prepared for, and I didn't like it at the time.
Yeah. As for me, I only saw bits and pieces of it when I was younger. And like Matt mentioned, the thing that always sticks in my head from that movie is when he goes to hell, which I definitely don't appreciate the implication that cats go to hell and dogs go to heaven.
Right?
Not cool. That's right. I'm on to you, big pupper, big dog. I don't know who it is.
Big dog.
Bringing the
They have a shirt
bring,
company for that.
mm-hmm, just like ruining the perfectly good name of cats and implying that they all go to hell. That's pretty messed up, man. Anyway, that off topic. But I actually did watch the complete movie for the first time. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago when I was locked down at home and had nothing else to do. I'm like, hey, let's try All Dogs Go to Heaven. I really didn't like it. I kind of hated the music. Like the song that the big alligator sings is borderline offensive, and I feel it's one of those movies you had to have watched when you're young, and if you really liked it when you're young, maybe it'll carry through, and you still have nostalgia for it when you watch it when you're older. But yeah, I'm in the Matt camp.
This is
I'm not feeling
fully
it.
this is fully one of those movies where you guys are saying that, and I agree with you 100%. But have you ever come across a movie where, or something, a game, a movie, show, whatever, where like you fully are cognitive that it's not good, but you still like it for some reason? And that's kind of how I see this. And maybe that's because I went and saw it with my mom, right? A weirdly fond memory of my mom. Maybe this was something else. Like I said, the music wasn't very good. The animation itself was like I said, unique. I wouldn't call it bad, but it was unique. I wouldn't call it good either. It was unique. And I think that's why I'm drawn to it, is at that, even as a kid, the Disney fatigue was real, man. The Disney fatigue was real. So that was like a drastically different thing. And I was like, sweet, I'm all for this, right? So I think that's kind of what it falls into. But All Dogs Go to Heaven, I do recommend watching it just for the craziness of it. Like you heard dog hell and that cats go to hell, and that we're not exaggerating. And I had forgotten about the crocodile song that you brought up. Go listen. It sure is a thing. So yes, that is my first one.
We're talking about this other movie, and that movie is going to be We're Back, A Dinosaur Story. So I like how Matt started off with like a very religious movie, while We're Back is kind of like an atheist's animated movie. So I want to paint you the scenario, ladies and gentlemen. You're in the prehistoric times. You have your T-Rexes, your pterodactyls, savage, horrible beasts.
Wait, did you just say pterodactyls?
What did I say?
Pterodactyls.
Pterodactyl.
Wait,
dude.
How do you call it? Wait,
Pterodactyl.
It's a Pokemon. It's a Pokemon. A pterodactyl.
It's a Pokemon. It's a Pokemon. You two can shut the hell up and let me finish my spiel, okay?
All right.
Are you okay with that? Are you going to call out anything else? Did I go in?
Are you gonna butcher it?
I don't know. I don't know if I do these things. I just do it. All right. I kill
All right.
words.
I'll Tara think about it.
Okay. You good? We're all good?
We're good.
I don't think you're good, Mike. You're still laughing.
Oh, that's
You good? Okay. We're good now. We're back. Dinosaurs. A spaceship appears, abducts the dinosaurs. And you're like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. Are they going to perform experiments on the dinosaurs? They shove like brain growing weird vitamins down all the dinosaurs' throats to force evolve them into being intelligent. And apparently making them intelligent also makes them nice and not savage. So, okay. Takes them to the present day, which at the time, the present day was the 90s. So now I guess now 30 years in the past, but the present at the time. Sorry, kind of convoluted. Anyhow, and they like, you know what we should do? We should bring the dinosaurs to the present and have them chill out with humans, because humans would totally not get freaked out by this, and we want you to go and see how chill dinosaurs are. So these dinosaurs somehow make friends with two little kids. And these two little kids, are the absolute worst, like all little kids are. And then they go on a zany adventure. I'm not going to go into all the details. But yes, as you may have noticed the theme with me, I love me some dinosaurs, especially cutesy dinosaurs that sing songs and play guitars and whatnot. That was We're Back, a Dinosaur Story. So I know that was the quick and dirty of the story, but have either of you guys seen this movie? What are
I've
your
yeah.
never heard of this movie.
You've never heard
Really?
of We're Back?
I have never heard
Oh,
of this
wow.
movie,
Yes.
but you just basically said aliens basically kidnap dinosaurs, make them
And make
smart,
them
put them
smart.
on present day, and I'm just like, that sounds amazing. So I know nothing about it, but I am intrigued.
You know what's interesting about this? The animation, not the animation style, I should say the art style, very much reminds me of All Dogs Go to Heaven with the art style itself. The animation's completely different. And this was another one because it was so weird that I was drawn. I must have been just a weird kid because I was drawn to this one too, Scott. It makes
It
no
was a very
sense.
Yes.
I don't think I like it as an adult. I mean, maybe I do. I haven't watched it in a while. But yeah, I'm with you. I was like, this is so weird. I'm for it because I don't know what's going to happen.
One particular weird, very disturbing, weird scene in this movie, and I think Mike, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I start describing it, is Professor Screw Eyes, like evil midnight circus. Like, I don't know if you remember that at all.
Yes,
but I definitely do.
I
And that
didn't
is
until you said that, and I was like, I remember exactly.
That is some nightmare fuel stuff right there. So if you're not going to watch this movie, ladies and gentlemen, at home, at least go on YouTube and look up like the Professor Screw Eyes Nightmare Circus, whatever it's called, scene, and you're going to be all like, "The hell? Little kids watch this? Scott, is that why you're so messed up? Is that what's the cause of your issues?" And I'll say yes. And one thing that is blowing my mind right now is I just decided to look up the cast of the movie and who did the voice acting.
I did too.
Martin Short again. So this guy, I never knew Martin Short had such a big,
Martin Short.
had so many,
the G.
so many animated movies he voiced for. Jay Leno and my boy John Goodman. Oh yeah, gotta love me some John Goodman. So again, another one of these movies that actually had a pretty baller voice acting cast, which pretty cool. Pretty cool to find out randomly all these years later.
You know,
I just looked up this movie and I'm seeing the images. I'm like, I remember seeing these now. And I remember the animation was really, really cool. I never watched it, but it's now looking familiar. Like I've seen like people that had VHSs of this. I'm like, what's that? Dinosaurs. That looks cool. Cast just blew my mind. But the animation is looking familiar to me now. It does really stick out. I remember thinking that it looked really cool.
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
I probably watched it. The last time I saw it was maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And you know what? It was fine. Definitely, there's a little bit of that like little kid lens of it was probably more amazing back then than it is now. But even now, I can appreciate for what it is. And definitely a crazy original story. It is definitely a trip. Some very memorable scenes in there. Unfortunately, like the kids are the worst, especially like, "I'm a tough Brooklyn boy. What you talking about? Get out of here!" Which sounds like I'm doing a really bad impression, but that was literally what the kid is.
Was
so.
that Jay Leno? That kind of sounded like Jay Leno.
I think Jay Leno is the one doing that stuff too in the movie.
Oh, is he? Okay, well then that makes yeah. I think it's less about the kid and more that I hate New York. If you are from New York and you're watching this podcast, get
it literally cut you off because you yelled so loud.
Get the New York, get out of here.
Being held down by Big Apple, how dare you? All right.
Well,
I think it's Matt's turn.
No. The question is, Scott, does it hold up?
Yes, it holds up.
You had to think about it.
I did have to think about it. Let's put it this way. I would rather watch it than All Dogs Go to Heaven. Sorry, Mike.
I mean, honestly, same, but all right.
That doesn't offend me. And I agree with you 100%. I realize I'm probably in the minority with All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I'm okay with that.
I feel like All Dogs Go to Heaven is very, very popular with like kids from your generation. I don't think that's like a very unpopular opinion at all.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever come across somebody else that's ever seen that movie except for maybe Chelsea. So
I was on TV all the time when I was growing up. I couldn't tell you the channel. But my pick for one of my favorite young non-Disney animated movies. Everyone loves this movie. If you don't like this movie, something's wrong with you. It is called Kiki's Delivery Service. It is a Studio Ghibli creation, which of course they make like perfection in animated form. Kiki's Delivery Service was something I actually got to. Maybe this invalidates what I'm about this as a favorite childhood movie. I got to Kiki's as an adult, and it blew me away with just how freaking good that it was. I love Kiki's Delivery Service so much. It makes me feel happy. It also makes me feel angry because I'll never live in a city like that. I will never live in a walkable city. So it also made me furious that I can't live in a place like that. But Kiki's Delivery Service was fun. It was whimsical. The animation for Studio Ghibli is just always spectacular and unique. I just love the emotion where the character goes. And it's one of those kids, or at least young adult at the most, targeted films where like you see this sort of wanderlust in somebody that's kind of, fantasy and things like that. And like you actually kind of feel it and enjoy it and thrive on it. It's like you want to see her go out into the world and make a name for herself, and she does. And it's just like as a kid, I imagine you see like yeah, I want to do something like that. And I'm watching this as an adult. I'm like, yeah, I want to do something like that too. But here I am working my day job and things like that. So Kiki's Delivery Service I thought was great. For the longest time, and I forget the character's name, her friend, I forget his name, but the little boy that rides the bike without my mustache, that looks like me. I look like that person. So one of these days, I was talking to my wife, I'm like, you need to dress as Kiki. I'm going to dress up as this little boy. I just got to buy that shirt. I don't know if I'll shave the mustache, but I don't know. I might pull it off. But I enjoyed Kiki's Delivery Service quite a bit. You guys
I
enjoyed Kiki. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I want to call. So I don't know if you saw me as soon as you said Kiki's Delivery Service. I was like actually, and then Scott actually put in our notes here, Disney released this, you bastard.
I don't
And
care. It's Studio
and
Ghibli.
so I was gonna ask about that because here's the problem. So let's do a little let's back it up and retract it a little bit. Let's clarify. We're not doing Disney created films here. Disney, and it's funny because actually now two of my picks, now that I know that we could do something, I'm not going to say what, two of my picks were not Disney, but they are Disney now because Disney was like money. It just threw money and was like, no, we want that off the market. It's a Disney thing. So we're clarifying, Disney did not make these. So Disney didn't make Kiki's Delivery Service. They bought the film rights afterwards.
To be technical, I think they only have the U.S. distribution film rights, and they have nothing to do with it in Japan. So I'm gonna give it to Matt.
Technically, you're right, Matt, which is the best kind of being right.
I was getting ready to fight on this one because as I was researching this one, like I had some movies in mind, but I'm like, I actually don't remember if that's Disney or not. So I looked up all the movies that I put out there, and I specifically said non-Disney animated movies, and I looked through all of them, and on that list, every list was Kiki's Delivery Service. So Scott, screw you. Kiki's Delivery Service was a great movie. Let's talk about that. Did you guys like Kiki's Delivery Service?
Yes, and I'm also glad that you chose that too because it opened up one of my picks so that we don't dual topic because I wasn't sure if it counted, and now I know. Okay, we're gonna go for it. Kiki's Delivery Service is, I mean, okay, the studio is it? I always get the name wrong.
Ghibli.
Ghibli.
It's Studio Giblets.
Giblets. Studio Giblets. That's what we're gonna call it. Studio Giblets makes gems. They just make gems, and this is like the
Blitz.
Yes. This movie is happy. I don't really know what else to say. It's just it's happy. You know, like you said, if you don't like it in some capacity, you're either trying to be edgelord, or you may want to go see somebody about that because it's just like
help.
Yeah, go get some help. That's not anything to be afraid of or ashamed of. I'm talking to Scott right now because I think he's gonna direct on this movie. But it's just it's a happy film. It's just happy. I don't know. That's all I could say about it. I really enjoy it.
Has a cool cat in it too.
Cats are always a plus. A cat that isn't
It's
from hell. So I'm looking at you again. All dogs go to heaven. Screw you.
This is the opposite of all dogs go to heaven.
I was about to make that joke. Like, listen, they have a cool cat in this one.
Anyhow, Scott's opinion, I think it's okay. Now, I don't think it's the best from that studio, and I was a little spoiled because my favorite movie I have seen from the studio was actually the very first one I saw, and that is Spirited Away, much like
Which
most
was
fans.
Okay.
2000s, wasn't it?
I thought you
What's
were
that?
gonna take mine. I was like,
Because Spirited Away was very good.
Spirited Away was great. And so afterwards is when I saw Kiki's, and it's all right. I just kind of kept comparing it to Spirited Away the entire time. And it's all right. And fun little story, though. I don't know if this is why Matt first watched the movie, but I think his first introduction to it is while we were at work and very bored. I sent him a picture of a character from the movie. I'm like, hey, Matt, you're in this movie. And
Oh, you?
that was me, the guy,
Oh.
the red striped shirt.
Yeah.
If you look him up, I forget what the character's name is. Maybe you can say it so whoever's listening can look this up. But there was a time that Matt looked exactly like this character. Same build, same haircut, same looking face. It was eerily
Tombo.
uncanny. Tombo? Yes.
Tombo.
Matt at one point looked like Tombo. Spitting image of him. So, and I just remember Matt's like, cool. What's this from? Oh, Kiki's Delivery Service. Okay, that's cool. There we go.
Like, he's not kidding. It literally looks like me without any facial hair, given I had shorter hair at the time, too. I'm looking at a photo of it right now. I am Tombo. I am Tombo. I didn't know you were the one that actually first put it in front of me. So kudos to you. Because you did. I'm like, all right, that does look like me. And then, like, I showed it to my wife, and she was like, no.
so the moral of the
she's like,
story,
yes.
the moral of the story is Matt loves himself over everything else.
Dude, I'm a Twitch streamer. I stare at myself all the time, baby.
There we go. That's the real one. Okay. Scott hated it or thought it was. Hey, you thought it was okay. That's actually.
I thought it was okay.
I thought
Okay
that's
is
better than what
okay.
I thought you were gonna say. That's fine. Okay. If you hate it, that's something else, right? So okay, fine. I'm gonna ride this train because now that just opened it up for me. My second favorite film from the 90s was one that I just wanted to watch because it had cool wolves in it. That was it. I knew nothing about it. And to this day, this is my favorite from Studio Giblets, and that is Princess Mononoke. By God, that movie is so damn good. It is so good. The animation's good. The story and the theme of forgiving even when you in all logic you shouldn't forgive and you shouldn't move on, and like the themes of also, you know, people doing things for the right reasons but definitely doing the wrong thing or doing them the wrong way and then being called out on it, and how do you react to I mean, there are so many adult themes in this that as a kid, whew, right over my head, I was like, this is cool. This is cool. This dude has a demon arm that can shoot an arrow and literally rip a guy's head off. Yeah, that happens in the movie. If you've not seen it, do yourself a favor and watch this movie. Of all the Studio Giblet movies, I mean, there are some good ones there. I do like Spirited Away. I do like Howl's Moving Castle. I do like a bunch of others. I recommend this one because of the very deep themes, and especially as an adult, you watch this and you go, damn. What happened to our kid films now, our animated kid films? As much as I like the Mario movie, what theme did we get from that? But like, they went hard back then. So
The
great
theme was
movie.
I like money. That was the theme of the Mario movie. Sorry,
True.
continue.
True. But yeah, so I believe both of you have seen this movie, right?
I haven't. I've always been to, and I just
Ooh,
haven't.
You really, Matt, you would.
I do.
You would dig it. It is layers upon layers upon layers of stuff to just sit back and be like, how did you do that? So good. What about you, Scott?
I have also never seen it.
What?
Sorry, Mike.
Dude,
breaking it
no,
apart.
this is good because now you guys can watch it, and I really hope you don't hate it. But I'm like, if you hate it, I'm gonna be really surprised. It is such a good movie, and again, like so it's so funny. This wasn't a Disney made movie, right? But Disney published it and brought it over to the US. And in doing so, like all of the other Studio Ghibli movies, big name actors all throughout. There's always a few big name actors in there. And this one has some good ones in there. Scott, why don't you take a moment while I talk and go look up some of the actors that are in this movie? Or maybe you already did. And you're going to be
I've been
like,
slacking off.
but you're going to be like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Oh, you already got me with one of the names.
And which I'm
Frickin'
thinking of
John
two.
DiMaggio. All right.
Okay, there's one. There's
Bite my furry ass.
Yep.
Tiny furry ass.
So who else is in this movie?
Let's see, Claire Danes is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know who
Yeah,
else
Claire-
I'm
yeah,
marking
Claire
out
Danes.
for.
Who you purposely
Yeah,
wanted
I'm
to
not.
see?
You
Oh,
really-
Billy Bob Thornton.
There you go, Billy Bob, baby. I was specifically thinking of Scott. I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like you're a Billy Bob guy, but you probably aren't. But I remember hearing Billy Bob in that movie, and his character is such a scumbag. And it fits his voice so well. It's so good. Really good movie. Highly recommend. Highly recommend it. It was 96, 97. Animation still holds up. Really good. That's my answer. It still holds up in space. Like, they could release that movie now and people would be like, wow, that was a really good modern movie.
I want to do it. Maybe we'll do a Buds Bustin' Films watch along or something. That'd be
That'd
sick.
be dope. That'd be really dope.
Work on the name. Work on the name, but I can endorse the principle.
Buds Bustin' Giblets.
That's better. That's much better.
Step in the right direction.
All right, we're getting there. I'll ponder it some more as Scott tells us his next movie.
All right. So this next one is going to be a dual Scott and Mike movie. This is also another very interesting movie. Very, very interesting premise. And it's a little movie by the name of Fern Gully. Fern Gully is the definitive, like, I'm pretty sure most of the people have seen this movie have become like eco, vegan, tree hugging, yeah. Like that's this movie.
100%.
So again, this is kind of another like very wacky plot, and I'm just going to go and do a really quick summary of it. It is about a bunch of fairies who live in a tropical rainforest. One day, and these fairies have never seen humans. They have like boogeyman stories of like these evil creatures called humans. They're bad news. One day, the humans show up to this rainforest, and it's just a bunch of what were they? They're cutting down trees, loggers. Is that what the job's called?
Yes.
Is it logger?
Yes.
Loggers? Yeah, they're lumberjacks.
They're cutting down forest. That's what they're doing. They're cutting down the forest.
They're cutting down wood. They're doing stuff with wood. Anyhow,
They're messing with wood.
They're messing with wood. They're messing with our wood. So they go and the main character, she goes and finds one of these guys and shrinks him to being really, really small. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't remember why she did that. I don't remember how she did that, but she did that. And so now this guy is fairy size, and she takes him throughout a tour of the entire jungle and seeing how awesome and magical of a place the jungle is. Meanwhile, there is a tree with an evil spirit in it that the greedy humans release, which is kind of, out of left field. Best thing about this, though, that tree, the demon inside of it, is voiced by the one and only, the man, Tim Curry. Another very interesting thing about this movie is, in a way, it was kind of the prototype for one of Disney's most famous, loved characters of all time. And that is Genie from Aladdin. Because that's right, the one and only Robin Williams voiced a character in Fern Gully. And if you just close your eyes and you listen to the character he does in Fern Gully, you could go and totally mistake him for being Genie from Aladdin. So I'm pretty sure this was Robin Williams' very first like animated voice acting, role he ever got. And definitely the character of Batty, you can see a lot of similarities with what Genie would become, which I think is like a very cool thing to see. Like, honestly, Batty he's basically the slapstick comic relief character of the movie, but he is entertaining as hell. And it's really, really cool kind of seeing this like prototype character of the genie in this movie. And I see Mike's face go through
You-
a range of emotions while I said this. So I want to give it to Mike now to kind of tell us what's on his
So
mind.
this was on my list until Matt opened the floodgates with Kiki's Delivery Service. So then I was like, Princess Mononoke was my original, but then I was like, well, a close second is Ferngully. And it's, you just like, it was so weird. I remember Batty, but then as soon as you said a prototype for the genie, it just like blew my mind. And I'm like, you were absolutely 100% correct. It's that Robin Williams manic, like ADHD humor when Genie's doing all his shticks with Aladdin. It is amazing. So I remember seeing this, and even as a kid, walking out being like, "Damn those loggers! Damn
Right?
them to hell! I hate humans, but
Humans are the worst.
they are the worst." And it's so funny having moved to Humboldt County way later in life. That's like, oh, this should be Humboldt's theme movie. Like they're they raise it up and it's like, this is our movie, right? And it's funny because I actually really enjoy this movie. Okay, I watched it again. I say recently. This was like 4 years ago. I didn't think it held up very well outside of Batty. Batty is funny. Fatty's hilarious. But I still really like this one because, again, kind of like All Dogs Go to Heaven, I went to see this in theaters and I got to see before it, like, remember when they used to do, well, I guess they still do, but previews like a week before the movie released to the audiences and you could get like special tickets. My sister got special tickets and she went with me and we both went and saw Ferngully together. And so that was like a cherished memory that I have, a very fond memory, not a weird memory like All Dogs Go to Heaven. And that's why I really like this movie. And Batty's dope. And now that you mentioned the Aladdin thing, I'm like, that's why I liked it. That's exactly why.
The big thing about this movie is I don't want to go too much in the political route, but definitely if this movie came out today, it would be labeled by certain groups as having an agenda and being a woke movie.
Woke.
Woke.
Mm-hmm.
Which definitely when this movie came out, I grew up in a very conservative family. My family took me to see it in the theaters. They bought it on VHS for me. We watched it all the time, and there was no complaints at all. Like they would be the first to agree. I'm like, yeah, we should take care of nature. Nature's pretty cool. And it's just kind of a little disappointing that we kind of went from an era where stuff like that, wasn't viewed as having an agenda. It was just preaching common sense. That hey, let's not trash our planet. We have to live here. Let's keep it in good shape. To now, this would be like incredibly controversial, and they're indoctrinating our kids with these crazy leftist ideas. So I'm sorry, a little bit of a tangent there, but definitely it's a movie with a quote unquote agenda. But I think it's like almost like, hey guys, you should breathe air. Hey, don't go and shoot yourself. It's like, yeah, no duh. This is like should be non-controversial stuff, but I don't know. Somehow it has become it. So I digress.
Matt, have you ever seen this or heard of it?
Heard of it, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it at some point on TV as a kid. And I was trying to remember if it was this movie or another movie that I have vivid memory of, like creatures trying to run away from like either a fire or like an oil or something that's creeping into the forest. I don't know. I might have been thinking about something else. But movies like this, I think my biggest takeaway from this, and this is not deep poetic or anything, it was just that like as a kid, it made me, as you mentioned earlier, hate loggers. And it's amazing how that is carried forward as a default that I have to catch myself as an adult, where I'm like, if I would ever to meet a lumberjack, my first thought would be like, you're killing nature. But that's just like, I think that because of a cartoon, but also we kind of survive on hopefully well curated logging and blah, blah, blah. We don't need to go into that. But I just found out that that made a certain vocation evil to so many children. And I just think that's hilarious. I think that's the funniest thing is like loggers are the devil.
I mean,
Also,
yeah.
construction equipment as well. I remember like after seeing some movie like this and seeing like a bulldozer like on the side of the road, I'm just like, that's the thing that kills the forest. That's a bad vehicle. That I just find very, very funny. And I find it funny that like there were recent movies, particularly Disney ones, that have been very like conservation heavy, or that's been kind of the backdrop of their movie. And I've seen those exact complaints of people like they're woke, they're trying to indoctrinate our kids. I'm like, how freaking terrible I won't go too big into this. How terrible is it that everything we have in life is black and white? There's no like universally accepted of like anything anymore. It blows my mind that something as simple like, hey, we need trees to breathe. We should keep some. We should keep some, guys. Nah, that's woke. Anywho, I don't really have strong feelings about the movie other than I sure did hate loggers and bulldozers.
On to you, Big Wood.
That's your best
All right,
one yet.
that's the best one yet. All right. My last one, and I was genuinely surprised that none of you guys had this on the list, but I ain't complaining because I get to take it. I'm talking about the Iron Giant.
The Iron Giant.
It-
How did I forget about this movie? Oh,
I'm surprised you didn't put it on there. And yeah, go for it, Matt.
Yeah, Iron Giant is a great, great movie. The premise is a kid basically finds a big giant robot, and the government kind of catches wind of it. Is like, this thing might kill us. Let's just blow it up. That's the very, very simple premise. It's sort of a coming of age story. It is an anti-war story, not like super in your face, other than a reactionary, how overreactionary we are to things that are different and scary. The movie was just good. Like as a kid, you're like, cool robot. And then as an adult, and I'll use something that one of our favorite shows, Ted Lasso, did. I think it was season 1, where they have like mandatory movie nights when they travel to other towns to play their football games. And like Ted Lasso stands up like, hey, at hour 5 or whatever, get a bunch of tissues because we're gonna have a bunch of grown men crying their eyes out. And then it cuts later to that scene and they're all crying because this movie has emotion. This movie has feels. This movie makes you think things. It makes you laugh at things. And also, this is a recurring theme for my stuff at least. Animation is sick. It is so freaking cool. And on a side note, the Iron Giant is a playable character in not Marvel, in WB multiverses. And he is a blast to play as. Blast to
Boo.
play as. We love multiverses here. It's just such a good movie, top to bottom. And I know you guys are going to fill in some blanks there. You guys tell me, Iron Giant, let's go.
dude, like the very last scene in Iron Giant, I guess the second to last scene, and I'm not going to spoil it. I have a black heart, if I have a heart at all.
That's not spoily. That's not a
I'm an
spoiler.
unfeeling monster, and I tear up. I tear up at this particular scene. Like I could quote it right now to you, and these other two guys will know exactly what is going on in this scene. But man, that movie, I would say that and The Land Before Time. I'll talk about that a little bit in my honorable mentions. Those are like the two definitive. Like I can't watch this scene without crying. I can't. I can't. It's dust in my eyes, guys. Don't look at me. So, yeah, Iron Giant, great movie, and I'm incredibly sad that I forgot about that one.
I think so. Two things why this movie still holds up to this day. I'm gonna answer for you, Matt. It still holds up.
Yep.
Number one, I don't think that this was the first time where a film used that 3D-ish art, like 3D-ish 2D animation and art style. This is definitely the first one I remember, and this might be the best of this whole generation. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think this was a Steven Spielberg, like Amblin or something, right?
Somehow connected to him.
Or DreamWorks or something. I think he did this, right? So he put the money into it. That, number one, the animation, it makes you feel. And the other thing that makes me look at this movie fondly is I actually watched this a few years ago with my two kids, and trying to get them to watch a movie, sit down and watch a movie and not say stuff and do stuff and fidget and stuff is rough. That, like you said, Scott, the last bit of that movie, both of them were just like, I'm not joking, both of them were like this. And I wasn't watching the movie. I was watching their reaction, just waiting, like, here it comes. And it's just amazing. It's still a whole brand new generation that's full of YouTube, and they still love it. That's a testament to the movie. I love that movie. It's a good movie.
Iron Giant
Great
is
movie.
a superb film. I'm glad you guys agree. And I'm sure everyone listening to this, as soon as I said Iron Giant, you were like, yep, I concur.
Buds approved.
That's
Buds
approved.
All right, our next one, I think Mike's got a good one. I'm excited to hear him.
This is another controversial one. So this is a movie that was not created by Disney. It was not created by Disney. It has Disney characters in it. Was not created by Disney, and then very quickly afterwards, Disney bought it up, and we're like, no, you can't. No, it's ours. So I'm counting it because Disney didn't make it. And it's wonderful, and it's wacky, and it's stupid, and it's one of the best examples of live action and animation coming together, and that is Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
I was gonna make a joke about it being the new what's the movie called? The basketball movie with LeBron.
Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Airbud.
I was
Space Jam.
Airbud. I was gonna make a joke about the the new Space Jam movie. I couldn't even
So
do it.
bad.
I couldn't even do it.
So it's such
You
a
know what? You
terrible
know what?
film.
You know what the joke is? The new Space Jam movie. You don't even have
Yes,
to make a joke
exactly.
about it. It is the joke.
Roger Rabbit did it better in 81. I think it was 81. So this is way old. Like, this was before our time, but for whatever reason, this movie hung around for our generations. And I very vividly remember this movie. So maybe it's a little bit early for our era, but like, I still consider this one of the, what are we calling these? Boomer tunes. Even though they're really not boomer tunes. This film was such a visual spectacle as a kid. Like, you want to talk about crossovers in Smash Brothers? You want to talk about crossovers in multiverses and all of these games and these films? The biggest crossover is Avengers Endgame. No, it's Roger freaking Rabbit. Why? Because they got Disney characters in it, and they got away with it. And not only they got paid because Disney bought it up. It blows my mind seeing this movie and seeing Daffy Duck and Donald Duck play dueling pianos at each other. And it's wonderful and hilarious. The animation is good. It does not suck. The actors, I mean, come on, man. Those are some wonderful, wonderful performances of just being silly. And we got to look at our guy, Judge Doom, as being like one of the best cartoon villains out there ever. If you have not seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. You should go watch it. It's on Disney Plus now.
It is a feat. It is a sight to behold.
Yes, it is. It's entertaining from beginning to end. It defies your expectations, and it's wonderful to watch. It's good. It's very, very good. It's nothing deep like we've talked about some other things. There's no real feels. It's just one of those things where you sit back and go, how'd you do this? It's just entertaining in that aspect to me. What do you guys think?
I have three things real quick. One, they had a ride at Disneyland before they gutted it and turned it into I don't know what land, but they had the Roger Rabbit ride at Disneyland in Toontown. Freaking loved that ride as a kid. It was super cool. Loved it. Two, I'll just say someone's name and we'll just pause for a moment. Jessica Rabbit. Pause.
Yeah, we
All
we
right.
all know what we're thinking here.
Yep.
Every boy and maybe
Yep.
even some women out there.
We'll move on from that one. That's been established.
We started what we went into that movie as boys. We left as men.
Pretty much.
The first furry lover.
Oh, true. So the third point I have is it's not a sequel, but it sure does feel like a sequel. But what was it? The Chippendale Rescue Rangers
Thank
that they
you.
made
Thank
they
you.
made exclusively on Disney Plus feels like a true sequel to Roger Rabbit, and it's stupendous.
You should
if
watch
you
it.
if you actually saw Chippendale Rescue Rangers, that sort of animation live mix thing where they basically treat cartoons as actors, not as the cartoons in the shows. If you like that remotely, do yourself a favor. You have to mandatory watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's the name. The official name of the movie is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
Well, who
so
did?
good.
Who was the one who framed him?
It was
You'll
Scott
have to
all
watch
along.
it. It was. Don't give away the end. So yeah, that's my finale. Scott.
Matt stole most of my thoughts on the movie. He mentioned Jessica Rabbit, and he gave a shout out, gave the bud plug to Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Yep.
Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I love it. It's probably my favorite thing Disney has done in the past 4 or 5 years. And I guess my last thought on it is Mike did kind of blow my mind when I looked at this outline a week ago and I saw Roger Rabbit on there. I kind of raised an eyebrow. I'm like, bruh, they have this at Disneyland. If it's at Disneyland, it's a Disney movie. And kind of caused me to look into the history of the movie. And it's just like, wow, that's kind of a trip. All right. I didn't know how it was possible to get Donald Duck and all them in a non-Disney movie. But then Disney was like, "Lol, we'll just buy you anyway." But yeah, I learned something tonight.
Yes, I had to purposefully put, because I knew you would be scrutinizing it. I had to put in my notes, "What? That's not Disney?" And he just wrote, "What?" mm. Great movie. Go watch it if you have not seen it already. If you have seen it, go do another watch. It's worth it. Holds up. It holds up to this day. Good stuff.
Okay. So for my final movie, in case you guys haven't, figured it out, we've been bouncing a lot in our selections. Literally this entire time we've been talking, we've been changing our picks. So I'm going to change my third pick right now because I've been thinking more about it, and I think this one deserves to be mentioned more. And that is An American Tail. Scott loves me some American Tail. So again, I'm going to do one of my really bad summaries of this movie, and this is it. American Tail is about, I think he's Russian. It's about a family of Russian mice who immigrant to the United States around, what would you call it? Like the 1940s,
Just say the Western days. The good old Western days.
You're thinking of Five Goes West. Come on. That's not.
I think it's like 1885.
Well, yeah, okay, 1800s.
Is the setting.
Is it? No, like, really?
In 1885.
Let's do a little research.
Really?
Let's do a little research.
Okay,
so
I'm going to start ranting.
It's Fievel.
Yeah, Fievel, American Tail. American Tail. And then the second one was An American Tail, Fievel Goes West, right?
Okay. In some undetermined time in the past, a family of Russian mice immigrate to the United States. This movie is great. It has definitely, if you look at the animation, you can tell this is an old movie, but I still think the animation holds up really well. It has a lot of character. It has a lot of, moxie, pizzazz to it. I love it. The story is super touching. So, spoilers, a big part of the movie, the main character, Fievel is split from the rest of his family. Like a super tragic, super sad separation happened between them, and the kid is looking for his family for most of the movie. But anyway,
it takes place in 1885. We had to throw that in there.
Is it 1885? But this is, aside from being a great movie to enjoy as a kid, I'm a person who really loves history. There was a time where I was planning on becoming a historian, and even now I just randomly in my free time read books about history. It is a great picture piece of the American experience. Yes, spoilers, rats aren't really intelligent. They can't really talk, and they don't have like...
I like that Freudian slip. You said mats. Mats aren't really intelligent. I meant rats.
Moving on. They don't really wear little mouse clothes, but this was obviously this is supposed to be like a parody of, that real period in American history. And it's a cool period. Like, I honestly, again, I don't want to get political with anybody, but the one really, really special thing in my mind that separates the United States from a lot of other countries, I guess Canada applies as well, is how this was a place that people from other countries that definitely were looking for a better life. This was such a great land of promise for them to go to, start over, work hard, and work their way into a better lot in life. And this was a great picture into that, like, very transformative, very important period of American history where the American dream became the American dream. This was literally where that concept came from. And as a little kid, you can go watch this, and maybe you don't understand the full historical context of this, but watching as an adult, it's like, yeah, I get it now. These mice want to get away from Russia so they get eaten by cats. I can support that. That seems like a perfectly fine thing to want to do for family. And I think it's great. I think it's a really great, digestible way for younger people to kind of, learn a little bit about American history. So that's it for me. American Tail. Not American Tail 2, Fievel Goes West, because I think that one was a little stupid. But American Tail
is
number 1. So, hey, we sell in New York. We're all comfortable here. No, let's go to the West. Yeah, what the hell? That's just now do a Western movie, because that makes sense. I digress. I'm sorry. Your guys' thoughts on American Tail?
I have none. Never watched it. Sorry. For anyone that's listening, not watching, the face of the shock and disbelief that popped on Scott and Mike's face right now was worth every every second.
I
It's worth not watching the movie just to see that reaction.
I don't know what to say. I
Yeah,
really
this
don't.
is a really this is a shitty way to end this episode, man. You just say something like that, and it's just like, well, all right, Matt didn't see it. I guess that's the end. There we go. Roll the credits.
That was me getting out of the way.
Life
So
is
Mike could
short
talk
and
about
then
it.
you die.
Mike, you're gonna have
Look,
to carry this one.
I guess I am. Look, let's be real here. I'm a 38-year-old man, and I'm not above saying that Fievel is the cutest animal in animation that I've ever seen. He's just adorable with his his clothes are just freaking just falling off of him, and you can't help but root for him. You can't help but love him. And like you said, it's a really interesting way of like introducing history to kids without introducing history to kids. It's like without boring them to tears.
Mhm.
I didn't realize this until way later in life when I was like, I remember I liked that movie. The mouse was cute. I'm gonna watch it. And I watched it again. I was like, I felt like the you know the meme where it shows the dude with the mustache and then he's got like the very hipsterish like he's supposed to be like, I am very 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 extremely smart and I know what I'm talking about. That's what I felt like coming out of that movie. Like when I watched it, I was like, yes,
Yes.
the 1800s. Mm-hmm. Yes. Like
This movie was very big brain in a lot of ways.
yeah, it's just the animation's really good, the music's really good, and I'll just say it that Fievel's is adorable. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. Matt, you should watch it.
You
That
should
makes
watch it, Matt.
that
I do. I need to
It only
watch
took
it.
us like 7 years to get him to watch Mad Max. So
Yeah, I'll tie it with you guys in another 7.
All right, it's a deal. I'll take
all
that.
right.
Beautiful. All right, we gotta do the rapid fire honorable mentions. All right, so here we go, real quick for me. Honorable mention. Scott purposely told me before I even add anything to the list, I couldn't add this to the list, and I'm gonna add it to my honorable mentions because screw you, Scott. It came out in 2000. It was made in the 90s, so it counts for me. Road to El Dorado, awesome movie, love it, stupendous. More Studio Giblets that we need to talk about. My Neighbor Totoro, superb. Love that movie. Not as well liked, I think, as his others, but I enjoyed it because Airplanes, Porco Rosso. Love that movie. Had a blast with that one. This was one that I don't know if anyone else liked, but I thought it was the sickest movie as a kid. Titan AE.
Yeah,
Freaking
man.
loved
It was
Titan
cool.
AE.
Those little hoverboard things and stuff.
Yeah,
it's cool.
we love Titan AE. And then I don't know if you guys ever heard of this movie. It's called Scamper. It followed a penguin. It was an animated penguin movie that was on repeat nonstop in my parents' household. My sister and I watched it like almost every day. I don't know if it's good. I just know I watched it a lot. Those are my honorable mentions. Mike, what are your honorable
Is that a
mentions?
weird Christian penguin movie?
No.
Like,
Good guess, but no. It was.
Okay.
Look it up. It's weird.
All
It
right.
was
Well, my honorable mentions are all shredded because Scott took American Tail. That was one. That was my AMTA in the notes. Matt took Iron Giant. That was my IRGI in the notes. But here's one that neither of you did. Rockadoodle, baby.
because it wasn't very good.
Hey, no, you take that back. This one I will die on this hill. All dogs go to heaven. I will not die on that hill. This one I will. Elvis is a rooster. Come on,
The
That's
man.
it. That's all he needed to give
That's all
you.
I need to say.
I
It's
just,
wonderful.
I just Googled Rockadoodle, and one of the suggestions was Rockadoodle Deviant Art. I'm not going to click on it.
No,
I just-
don't do that,
I just-
please.
I just, I
Don't
just
do
need
that.
to know that I'm not clicking on it.
Gives a new
Ooh.
meaning to cock.
Oh. Ah. Scott, tell me about your honorable mentions. Try to leave wood out of it.
So my honorable mention first is going to be Land Before Time. So one of those movies that if you've seen Land Before Time, it definitely left its mark on you. Screw you, T-Rex. How dare you kill Littlefoot's mom? That may have just sounded like a random gibberish string of words. You'll get it if you watch that movie. Tugs at the heartstrings. Another movie that tugged at the heartstrings, Balto. Not sure if you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
It's actually
Wolfie?
funny. It tells the story of a heroic sled dog who helped save a whole entire town,
Saw that
which
a
is
lot.
which is a true story, but it was a different dog who did it. And the other dog, who was kind of a douchebag with the rest of the dogs, that was Balto, and they just fought. Balto's a better name. That's named the actual hero dog Balto, and everybody thinks that. But anyway, rant there. Secret of Nim, another really strange, weird ass movie starring mice. Very, very weird, but very, very memorable. And then, yeah, even though I told Matt he wasn't allowed to use it, I was actually going to be a scumbag and also mention The Road to El Dorado.
Yeah.
As well as Sinbad. So one thing I'm very, very sad about, which granted they did have a lot of success with like their 3D animation stuff like Shrek, but there was a period where DreamWorks was hardcore into animation. And yeah, like Matt mentioned, Road to El Dorado, awesome. Prince of Egypt, awesome. Sinbad, I would say awesome, but very good. And it makes me really sad they kind of dropped their whole 2D animation stuff because they were actually producing.
And I
really
want to
good
look
stuff.
into Iron Giant too, or that might have been like right before DreamWorks was formed, because it was like a Steven Spielberg, like, because he did DreamWorks, right? Like he started it. I don't know if he still does.
No idea.
Maybe. I don't think Iron Giant though was associated with DreamWorks. Maybe it
Oh.
had some similar creative talent, but I don't think it was a DreamWorks movie. So anyway, wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the Buds' favorite movies growing up from our childhood. Hopefully a couple of these movies sounded at least a little bit intriguing to you guys. You give them a chance. If you hate them, blame Matt. Anyway, there. Gotta blame Matt for it. But yeah, definitely give these movies a chance. We would love to hear what your movies are. What are some movies that are very treasured by you growing up that occupy a very warm, fuzzy part in your heart? We'd love to hear about it. So hopefully you enjoy hearing about this as much as we enjoy talking about it. With that said, yes, Matt?
You know what I want to hear about?
What do you want to hear about?
I want to hear about how everyone loves us by liking and subscribing all of the stuff, dropping comments on all the things, coming to our Discords, rewatching our YouTube videos, going to your mom's computer, making her watch the video, playing it on every device that you have. Pat our numbers. I'm not above groveling. Let's do it. Make us internet famous, baby.
Drink it in, man.
Drink it in. So, hi, you should like and subscribe and all that crap on all the things. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, I think you can leave reviews. Tell the world we're great. Okay. Tell them Matt sent you. They definitely know who I am. So, yes, love us because we love you. Mike, I think we have a segment that's coming up that people seem to like quite a bit. What is it again? Can you remind me?
I think it might be a viewer question.
I heard you have some questions.
Yeah.
So many questions. Why don't you ask your question and the Buds must answer for you?
All right, I'm not gonna put in the song this week. That was the intro there.
You should still do the overlay, but just leave Scott singing.
Yeah, I'll put the question marks on there and Scott singing. I love that my song, you actually remembered my song that I made for that. Some stupid little ditty that I made in 15 seconds, which I actually am proud of. That is a catchy little thing.
Studio ditty. Yep.
Studio ditty. I like that. All right, this question is from Tara, and the question is for everyone, all of the Buds. The question is, what is the one genre of games that you know you would never touch? I think this will be hardest for me. I think you guys will be like, I would never touch this. It's going to be harder for me. So I'll let you guys go first.
All right, I'll start off. So first off, Tara, great question. You get the Bud plug tonight. So for me, this is a bit of an asterisk on this answer. Sport games, like your football games, your baseball games. The reason there's an asterisk on there is there was a time I did like wrestling games, and I actually recently bought another wrestling game, AEW Fight Forever. But come on, I don't think wrestling counts as sports. So even if you do consider it a sports game, any sport that's not wrestling. So I would never, ever, ever play a Madden game. I would never play NBA Jam, whatever the hell all of them are. I'm sorry, Mike, but I probably would never. I guess racing is a different genre than just pure sports.
No, that's part of sports, but it also depends on. But here's and I'm gonna actually. I have the same answer, but I'll speak. There are different types of racing, like Need for Speed. That's a sports game.
Wouldn't play it.
But that's way more arcadey. Or you can go super arcade, right? Technically, Mario Kart is a racer. It is technically You like Mario Kart, don't you, Scott?
It's all right.
So you would touch that. You would touch that genre, right?
I would touch it.
Yes, you touch it.
All right. Maybe we'll go and leave out. Oh, don't say that. Anyway, maybe we'll go and leave out racing games, but just your regular sports games, football, baseball. Not for it. Never would touch it. I don't think there's anything you can do to make me.
For me, I was debating between saying most sports games. I did play MLB The Show a couple years in a row, and I enjoyed that just as a baseball fan. Wrestling, I categorize as a fighting game. You come at me, anyone on the internet, it's a fighting game. But I think for me, it's going to be like a true horror games. Like the closest I'll get is like Resident Evil or maybe even Dead Space, which is sort of like action adventure in a horror element. The pure horror games that are designed as horror games, I'm not even going to go near it. Don't give a crap. Not for me. You can say it has the greatest story in the world. I'm like, I don't care. Is it considered a horror game? I'm out. No touchy. Not for me. Just don't like horror. It's not fun to me. That's mine.
So for me, this is really tough for me because I like so many different. I'm the variety gamer here in the group. I'd say like I like it all. It's not really a blessing. I agree with Scott, but with the sport, like basketball, football, that like golf, hockey, I don't care about those types of games unless it's like something wacky. But for the sake of being different, I would. This may make some people angry. Probably like Sims games, like think of like Sim City or the world build, like literal world building games. I'm not into those. I can appreciate them, I guess, but I would never be like, man, I am gonna go sink an hour into The Sims 10. I don't know how many there are. The Sims, right? I would probably stay away from that. So not my cup of tea. So good question, Tara. Very good question. Scott, I have a question for you. Very important question. Do you have a rant for us tonight?
Oh, do I have a rant tonight?
Oh, another one.
Look over there. He just doesn't care. He's going off on a crowd of people, throwing words in the air like he just doesn't care. He's going off on all the sheeple. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. A Scotty Porta Potty rant. A Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's rant time. Let me tell you something, potty maniacs. You know who really grinds my gear? Celiac Matt. That's right. I'm talking about you. In specific, your honorable mentions trying to rush Scott's opinion. I know what you're doing. I know your game. You're trying to go and censor me. You're trying to go and get Scott in the corner and get out all his opinions really quickly. Because you know why? You're afraid of the truth. You are a pawn of big meat, big veg, big wood, all the bigs. I know your game. I know what the people come here for. They come here for the truth. They come here for the Scott. That's right. If you don't have Scott's rants and his awesome opinions, you ain't got no Buds Busting Balls podcast. That's right, Matt. I will give the people what they want. The voice of the voiceless. And I ain't letting you hold us down anymore, brother. God bless the United States of America.
Am I allowed a rebuttal?
No.
All right.
What is said
fine.
has been said.
I will humor you. I will humor you, Matt.
I don't want to. I don't want to anymore.
Fine. Fine.
He's gonna take his ball. He's gonna take his ball and go home. He ain't gonna bust his ball anymore. All right. Well, what a way to end another fantastic episode. If you liked this episode as much as we liked making it and talking about this, you should you should subscribe, you should check us out. We have Celiac_Matt here. You can catch him on Twitch, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, various other days, streams all sorts of stuff, so go check him out. You can find me on Twitch, Mondays and Tuesdays, Bauer Tendo. Eventually, one day, Scott, Hero Omega Man, SM Steven stream, something. will show up on Twitch and start streaming Sega Saturn games. One day, we can only
And then you
hope.
can hear all his honorable mentions that he has bottled up on the inside.
That'll literally be his entire stream. Is this him playing a game saying honorable mention, honorable mention, honorable mention, just over. You don't even know what it's for. It's just what he's saying after talking with us each week. We appreciate you. Thanks for sticking to the end. You should share this, just like you share everything good. You should share this as well with all your friends and your family. We appreciate you. Until next time, bye.
Kisses. Mwah.